Call the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order this Monday, July the 1st, 2019 at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It's now 6 p.m. We did get it done, didn't we? All right. Welcome to those that will view this later. We hope that it's informative to you. Would you join us for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Does it have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Presentation, Lieutenant Wade Styrens, 20 years of service and no interruptions. A lot of military folks do have interruptions, so. We'll get you a picture over there from that
That's
one.
right. Everybody knows Lieutenant Wade Steins here. He's been with us 20 years. Second longest serving right now at the department. And Wade grew up most of his life here on Outer Banks and partially over in Belhaven, and moved around a little bit, attended Manio High School. He was in the construction business before getting into law enforcement, and then had the calling. I think his grandfather was in law enforcement, was one of the first motorcycle troopers in the state of North Carolina. He traveled all over the state as a motorcycle trooper in the 30s. Wade is also a resident of Kitty Hawk, and he's been a resident of Kitty Hawk for quite some time on the north end. He takes pride in being a resident of Kitty Hawk, and Wade is obviously a true leader. Him and I talk. I make more phone calls to him than I do anybody. My wife too. So him and I talk a lot, and because we're a great team. We work together well. Wade has a good way of handling the public. And him and I are a great team in handling that together. And I can't think of a more great guy. He is eligible for retirement in a year, and he says he's going to wait till I retire. So we'll see about that now. But as y'all, Robin, his wife, was out here with us also. He has two sons, and they're great kids and great family men with one grandchild, right?
I've got two, daughter and four, and
The daughter and four.
grandchild.
So he's got four grandkids.
Three and
He's got
four,
to spread out.
we'll go get them in just a little bit.
He's spread out. So, but Wade, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
We do appreciate all your service. All right. Public comment. Do we have anybody signed up?
No, sir.
All right. Does anyone want to speak at public comment? Let the record show no one came forward. Consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. I have a question, though, before we move on. The fire department received a donation from Golden Strand owners. What was the genesis of that?
I think we discussed that today. I believe they donate, probably more than likely donate to most all the fire departments.
Okay, it was that
Yeah,
kind of a
banks.
donation. It wasn't
Yes.
something special?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know if it was because we helped when they caught on fire. Years
There
ago.
may be some rationale behind it. I can find that out, but we were going to follow up with a thank you letter from the
Okay,
chief.
I'm just curious.
But we'll find out for sure.
All right, thank you. And we didn't have any items removed, so we go into new business, and we go into consideration of condemnation of property located at 4240 North Virginia Dare Trail. Under an ordinance, it would be a number 19-04. Now, I have some comments leading to discovery and discussion of possible condemnations of unsafe structures at 4240 Virginia Dare Trail. The discussion that will follow is intended to show the public that council and staff have not, nor will we ever take, condemnation lightly where private property is concerned. Further, this possible action is not, I repeat, not a taking for public use, but a forced action by local government to ensure that an unsafe condition existing within the community is corrected. As the last council member still present who remembers the 13 existing lawsuits against the town when I came on council in December of '05, the possible action we take tonight is not something any of us ever wanted to see. That said, we hope to provide the public with sufficient information to show that sometimes there is a need for government to use certain powers to ensure safety and harmony exist within the community. With that in mind, I'm going to go in what I describe as a basic discussion format. Andy, would you
Yes,
tell
sir.
us why we're here and what we're trying to do?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is for the town council to consider condemnation of property located at 4240 North Virginia Dare Trail. The properties in discussion, Ben Alexander, the code enforcement officer, our building officials out this week, but Ben Alexander will provide you a slideshow of sort of some pictures of the conditions of these buildings. But there is a map provided to you, and you can see there highlighted in red are those buildings that have been deemed unsafe, structural, and dilapidated by our building official. The building official has been in contact with the property owners since October 31st of last year. The property owner, he's been in contact with some brothers and sisters in regards. He's followed all the procedures by the North Carolina state statute in regards to condemnation. We've received some complaints on the building, and usually it's when we have a hurricane that's out there or some kind of storm system coming, we get complaints from some of the neighbors in the area concerned that maybe the roof or pieces of that building will blow off. And then it is sort of an eyesore, and it hasn't been inhabited in quite some time. So we've worked with the property owners, given them all the notifications, and we've have informed them and the property owner that we intend to bring this before the town council to condemn the property, which would technically, which would then allow the town staff to, how it works is, in this case, we're not looking to take any type of property. We're looking to, as the mayor said, bring the property in compliance. So they can either, they'll have until the time of demolition to bring that property into compliance, or the town would be forced to demo the property at the town's expense and then file a lien on the property. So whenever that property was exchanged or sold, that the town would be reimbursed for the expense of having to step in and take care of the situation. So, even after tonight, if the town council decides to proceed with condemnation and approve the ordinance that's before you, it would go to the town attorney's office for a title search and basically be put in the town attorney's lap to proceed with the condemnation. And once that's all finalized, the town would then probably request bids, have the building demolished, and like I said, then place a lien on the property. So that's really what's before you this evening. I'll turn it back over to the mayor. If you'd like, Mayor, I'd like to have Ben Alexander maybe come forward first to show you
That's exactly
some of
what I want to happen.
some of the pictures of the condition of the building, so the council can get a feel for, and the citizens, kind of what we're looking at here. So, Ben?
Okay. These pictures were taken last Friday. The number on the picture, number 1, 2, or 3, designates which building it is on the parcel. This shows the distance from building number 1 to the property on the north side. It's 6 foot from the building to the fence, and then the fence is another 2 feet from the steps on the adjoining property. You can also see some of the damage there. This shows the front facing NC-12, the decay of the roof line plus the missing louvers in the roof vent. More decay and holes in the soffit on the side, south center side of the structure. The little point up here on this, it looks like there's a bird on it or whatever, that's part of the roof line that is buckled on top of the house. This is the back part of the structure showing the damage to the soffit and the uncappedness. This is the rear of the structure. Those vines are so covered that they're actually growing inside the building. They're up through the soffit and growing inside the building. This is a distant shot of the holes in the front part of the structure. Close up of the holes in the front part. This is the rear part of the structure. That's close up of holes where the roof is actually caved in sections on the rear part. This is a side door that in the last month has become unsecured. It can't be secured because the wood that it usually uses to hold the latch to has rotted away. Another close-up of the door. This is building number 2, or the 2-story building, showing the unkemptness and some of the damage to the back part of it. This is a close-up of the damage to and holes in the roof on the back part of building 2. The rear of building 2 showing the vines growing up inside of it. Close-up of the vines. And this is showing that the vines going in, and this one 4x4 here is just propped on this block, and that's all that's holding the roof line up on that building. This is a front view of building number 3, which is the building to the south on the lot, and it shows that it's only 5 foot away from the building on the south side of it. It also shows damage to the roof and the broken windows in the front of it. Close up of the broken windows and show all the decay and all in the roof line. This is the north side of that south side building where the roof line's rotted away. This shows where pieces are missing to the soffit and where pieces of the plywood on the side of the building are coming out. This is the rear, shows where the plywood that's on the roof underhang is falling out, and it's being held up by one round post.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you. Counselor, you have any questions, Ben?
I just have one, and that's concerning number 3.
Yes.
Is the building in the back of that, that's not attached, correct? to
No,
the-
there's 2 buildings on the property that are not attached to these 3 and are not part of the process.
Okay, and so that building behind number 3, to the west of number 3 seems to be okay?
It's got some, but it's nowhere near the
Okay.
condition of the other ones, and it is still serviceable and weather tight.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Anyone else?
And am I correct that there's someone living in the other building that's on the property?
The small shed in the back is, got power and sewer, and there is somebody living in it now. That is not part of the condemnation. The door of the lady that owns the 3 that are in condemnation was staying in the 2-story at one time. It has been relayed to me through the building inspector that her brother and her mother have told her to move her stuff out, that she doesn't need to be in the building with the shape it was on.
So is the only building then that's on the parcel that has utilities, active electric and water, would that be the building in the back? The other buildings have no active
There's
utilities?
still electricity into the 2-story white building, that's building 2, that's in condemnation. But if this goes through, that will be removed.
And is she still presently living in that house?
No, she was only coming maybe 1 or 2 days every other month
Okay.
and staying for a weekend.
Okay.
And like I say, it has been passed on to me that she has been told to move her stuff out and not to go back.
Okay.
Because I don't think the brother knew what kind of shape the house was in until.
I think when this was brought up, I want to say 2 meetings ago, you had maybe mentioned to us, Andy, that they had said something about there was an offer to purchase this parcel, and that was kind of holding the process off.
I think they've discussed that. I don't know where they're at with that process, but as I talked to David, if we don't go through with this and something was, and it was to exchange hands, then we'd be back at square one
Right.
with the new owner, so.
Yeah, I just feel that if something did, if the council decided to go forward, it would need to be
Yeah, there's-
immediately a lien placed so that if it were to go under contract, that,
I'm going
We're
to ask the
protected.
lawyer to pass that kind of legal advice to us next.
yes, okay.
He's done a lot of research for us. We're on solid ground as far as what we have to do and the reason we have to do it. So Any other questions before I turn it over to legal?
We are going to continue down on the list.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no questions right now.
Casey?
Thank you, Mayor. Just to touch on Tina's question really quick, so in the event the property were to be sold, and I don't believe we have any reason to believe the sale's imminent. I mean, I don't think there's a contract that, we've not been made aware of a contract at least, but what Andy's referring to is within the statute that I'll talk about briefly, that authorizes a municipality, the statute that we are proceeding under, there are certain notice requirements. Those parties that own the property have to have the right to be heard. So yes, the process would ultimately start all over, because if they take subject to, and there's nothing out there in the public record, which is ultimately what we're doing tonight though. Once that ordinance, if the ordinance were to be approved, at that point, it would become public record. So then a buyer would take subject to. But that's, again, a reason why right now that the contract issue hasn't played that big of a role in deciding. We just ask the realtors to keep us abreast as they move forward.
One question I have for you is it subdivided? Is it one parcel? How is it deeded?
My understanding is it's all one parcel, I believe. Now, I have not done title work yet, so I don't want to,
Understand?
Ben, if you can provide.
Yeah, it's two parcels that have been commingled through the family, but they've got two parcel and two PIN numbers. All the buildings that we're talking about are all one parcel. The other two buildings are actually leasehold agreements to the second parcel, which is also deeded to the lady that owns the three buildings that we're, so one lady owns the whole land on the parcel, with the two buildings leasehold to another person.
But the title search will take care of
Yeah.
whatever
That's right.
issues might come. to it.
Correct. Yes, sir.
And the title search won't be done unless we approve the start of contract.
Really wouldn't be any need, absolutely. I mean, just verifying title as to who owned it for notice purposes
Right.
was really, just ownership is ultimately what we were doing in the beginning. Tina, does that answer?
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure, okay. So when I was asked to look through this issue as presented by the town, the first two things that come to mind are, does the town have authority to move forward? And if so, what are the standards that the town must follow? And in doing research on this issue, there are various avenues by which a municipality can proceed on condemnation. What we are proceeding under is General Statute 160A-426. This statute does not require the adoption of any minimum housing standards or anything. So far as our town code, we do not have to adopt a specific ordinance. So we are entitled to rely on state statute in this case. And what the statute basically states, and I'm going to name some conditions here that became very apparent, at least when I was looking at those pictures. The statute reads that every building that shall appear to the inspector to be especially dangerous to life, which also includes, of course, health and of public and other properties as well, surrounding properties. But it is not limited, however, to the public. It also relates to anyone who may be residing in there. If it's a danger to those people, this statute would apply. Because of its liability to fire, because of the bad conditions of the walls, defective construction, decay, or any inadequate means of egress. There is a door, as Ben said, up there that would not shut, it wouldn't close. Now, obviously, they can get out, but it's not really securing the property at all, or anybody that would be there. It's not stopping the public, anybody from walking in, if you can't lock the door. So, or any other cause that, again, the inspector finds to be especially dangerous to life, health, or other property. If he deems these to be unsafe, then he shall follow the procedure that's set forth in the statute. And I have provided you guys a memo that lays out the procedure. Now, Andy's told you that those procedures and notices were followed. The inspector has had conversations with the owners, with the heirs even, and nobody has desired to make an attempt to bring the property into compliance. So that's ultimately why we're here. Now, there are two issues that popped out that really, and looking at those pictures made it even more obvious. The separation of these buildings from other properties is a major ordeal and problem in our eyes. I mean, one is 5 feet from the property, well, the property to the south, you're talking 5 feet between that and a structure with holes in it, in the roof of it. So also, there have been issues that have popped up. This happens to be the owner to the north, so I can only imagine what the owner to the south would experience in the event they were trying to sell. But the parcel to the north was in the process of, it was under contract, as I understand it. And what killed that deal was the buyer found out they could not get insurance on the house because of the condition of the property that we're seeking to condemn tonight. So if we've got somebody out there who is a professional and their industry is to assess risk, and that's ultimately what our inspector is assessing in this particular case, and we've got a professional entity saying, I'm not even going to assure the property next to it because of the condition, then it would be my opinion, from the legal perspective, that we absolutely have the authority to proceed under the statute that I've cited. And there will be other people speaking about issues, but that from the legal perspective, I see that we've got the authority.
Thank you, Casey. Anybody? I think he's laid it out pretty well. Police Department, Chief Johnson, can you add anything, complaints or anything that might, please come up?
Had, the Records Division was record search 10 years back to 2009. We received 7 calls for service there. 4 of the calls for service there were generated by officers detecting suspicious males standing in between the homes, the properties, and one, they didn't locate the guy, and one of them, the gentleman ran from him. But then as a little bit more research, it was subsequent to a narcotics investigation that we had for the small building that's being inhabited now. So we had some narcotics activity years ago in that small building, but nothing in the last 2 years. But I will say this, we do have quite a population, more population of squatters in this area now, and it's a matter of time before they find that location. And then my biggest concern about that facility there that's decaying is our visitors with small children possibly getting into it, because none of the doors are secure. If you walk there, you can open every door, just about. I mean, Ben will tell you that. I mean, you can get in there if you want to. So I don't want a place for them to live unless they have a right to live there. And then obviously it's in decay, and it's a huge fire hazard, which I think it is, but I'm not a fireman. But those are my 2 cents. And if anything else I need to do, just let me know.
Thank you. Anyone?
Thank you,
Thank you, Chief.
Going with this, I did receive a complaint about activity, which I relayed, and that was relayed. This has probably been a few years, and it was relayed. I brought it to Andy's attention. He brought it to Joel, and they did go and do what they do. Mm-hmm. And so there has been, I have received a complaint, and I also heard from another kind of semi-homeless that there was an abandoned motel in Kitty Hawk that there had been people staying in. And to me, I believe this is the only one that I can think of. Now, I can't back that up as a fact, but I did hear this from another person that would probably be pretty reliable, that there has been at times somebody camping in there.
And I will say, from personal experience, walking up in Kitty Hawk Park, that we do have homeless people in the town, and one of them was camped out there. Obviously, there's a bathroom and everything you need. It's just a matter of time.
Yes, sir.
For that or narcotics or whatever. Yeah. Anyone else? All right, I'd like to call on the fire chief. This one ought to be interesting for you, given your occupation.
Yes, sir. Many of the hazards have already, or risks have already been stated. But in terms of fire, the disrepair does increase the risk in terms of fire, not only it catching on fire, but the spread of fire inside the building, and more importantly, in my opinion, to adjacent structures. So I think that's their true concern. We've already had instances where fireworks have caused fires on the beach. Even though we try to stop that, it's still going to happen inevitably. With the building holes and disrepair like that, it's going to be easier for those types of fireworks to get in the building to start a fire. And what I'm really worried about is the spread. Okay, without that, everything being compartmentalized in there where it can contain some of that fire, it's going to spread to those adjacent structures, especially from the pictures we can see how close they were in proximity. So that's a big concern.
Yeah, and the one to the south is higher, so that's going to be even worse. It's wood, it's higher, it's 5 feet away. And you wouldn't get any flash over because there's no roof to flash over, would you? Yeah.
So that's an ideal spot for the wind coming off the water, and it's really going to really get away from us quickly.
Yep. Probably
To the
before you
neighbors.
get there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Questions? Anyone? No? All right. Thank you, Chief. Andy, anyone know of any other complaint-driven items from this particular property? I think we've covered most everything that I can imagine. All right. I do want, before I ask for some sort of a motion, a note of interest for the public that will watch this later. And the question is basically, are there other rundown properties in the town of Kitty Hawk? And the answer is yes. There's no question. However, at this time, they do not pose the same danger to adjacent properties as the structures located on this property. Primarily because they're standalones. They're also in different kinds of areas, parts of the town. You'd like to see properties kept up, but sometimes that can't be done or won't be done. In this case, we're doing this for a whole different reason: safety of life, property, and that sort of thing. With that said, do I hear, if council has no further questions, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I approve staff's recommendation for condemnation and/or demolition for the property located at 4240 North Virginia Dare Trail.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have 2 seconds. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right. Thank you, Casey. And department heads, we appreciate that. And I hope that the public can understand we really don't like doing this. It's not something we enjoy. All right, let me get back to where we should be. Okay, next is Cahoon and Caston's Architects Bathhouse Conceptual Drawings. Is that going to be you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Town staff requested Cahoon and Caston Architects to draft a proposal to develop a set of design and construction plans to renovate the bathhouse, which is a highly used facility, especially this time of year. I believe the bathhouse was constructed in 2003, which doesn't sound like that long ago, but being that it's in a high weather area there by the ocean and utilized a lot by people coming in and out of the beach. The bathhouse has kind of deteriorated over time. So the council in the 1920 budget has budgeted for a $100,000 renovation of the bathhouse. The next step in the process, once the council has sort of just the conceptual plan of what's going to take place, the architects were going to develop a set of drawings so the town could bid out the project to various contractors who were interested. There were some slight additions being made and some improvements while we were going to go ahead and make this substantial improvement that you'll see in the drawings. I'll go ahead and pull it up for the general public so they can see a conceptual plan for the building. The first thing, if you'll see, is that this part here, that the darker section is sort of a small little addition. I believe it's maybe like 15 by 10 addition to the side. That'll give us a little more room to store our ATVs. This was requested by the Ocean Rescue and as well as Willie, the Public Works Director, and to allow the lifeguards to go there during weather events. A lot of times they currently go into this, and it's a really small building and it's not even a finished facility. I think you've seen some pictures in our budget of what that looks like. So it would be a finished small little office area and a place to park ATVs and to store all their equipment, and should be ample space and what we need moving into the future for ocean rescue. The showers is another thing that are going to be brought off of the building. Currently, the men and women's restroom have the shower facilities that are attached to the actual structure itself. I believe they have like a bed liner along the side of the wall now, which keeps the water from getting in behind the wall. But as you know, over time, if you shower and put water against something, water is going to find its way to the food. So what this does is pull all the shower facilities, and they're really just basic shower facilities, all in one area. It eliminates some of the deck space with the addition that you see where the garage is, but really it's a lot of wasted deck space that's currently there. So we're hoping to get some sort of shower, some plumbing done there that's easy for us to go and replace the heads and maintenance in the future. The inside of the bathrooms will be all gutted and renovated. Here's sort of the layout. It's really the layout of the current current way the bathhouse is laid out. Here's the addition here with your basically your ATVs and your equipment. We don't have 4 ATVs, but that's just shown. And then a small little office area for ocean rescue. And then you'll come into the restroom facilities just like you do now, which is this space here that's light covered with the toilets that you see. Nothing's proposed to change there, but they are going to use more durable materials. Over time, the floor in that bathroom has been layered and layered with different materials, so who knows what's underneath that. And some of the walls and the floor are starting to sag a little bit, so we're going to go in and really make a restroom facility that's easy to maintain with more durable construction. So that's really the purpose. It's not any type of major renovation or expansion, but just while we're there, go ahead and get what we need, and we'll hopefully, with the funds available, we'll hopefully be able to make this improvement. As I say, nothing really much changes with the restroom facilities itself. The biggest improvement is getting the showers over here off of the walls of the actual structure itself. So with that, I will turn it back over to the mayor.
All right, thank you. Counselor, you have any questions?
No.
All right, okay, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the conceptual drawings for the Kitty Hawk Bathhouse renovation project.
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right. Next, we have some Board of Adjustment appointments. The chair has asked to not do that anymore, so we need to move some people around, and that's basically what's happening here. So with that in mind, do I hear a motion, or a nomination, for chairman of the Board of Adjustment?
I'll make a motion to appoint Charlotte Walker as chairman of the Board of Adjustment for 1 year or until a successor is named.
And in this particular case, they're not term limits, so it is until somebody dies or we get rid of them, one or the other. All right. Do I hear any other nominations? Do I hear a second for that nomination? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. All right. On the motion of a vice chair, I'm going to hold that open to be determined because I don't really have a good handle on who might be willing to take that yet. So we'll have to do that later, and the town clerk tells me we can do that. Next, we have a regular member, and it's actually a move up from alternate member to a regular member. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Tim Fish as a regular member on the Board of Adjustment with a term of office to expire June 30th, 2022.
All right. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. And now we have a new person that we can put in as an alternate. Do I hear a motion or a nomination for that?
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to appoint Kip Tab as an alternate on the Board of Adjustment with a term of office to expire June 30, 2022, or June 30, 2021.
It'll be 21.
All right.
To expire on June 30, 2021.
Okay. Any other nominations? All right. Hearing none, does it have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4 or none. All right. So we got to get a vice chair, and we got to do some work on that. Thank you. All right, town manager?
Just a couple things to report on this evening. The Moore Shore Road project is nearing completion. Last week, there were about 100 volunteers that went down to the Moore Shore Road project. They parked here at Town Hall, and we helped shuttle them down to Moore Shore Road, and they've planted about 7,000 Juncus plugs, whatever those are, just grass plugs along the shoreline, about 4 or 5 feet out. That was the Coastal Federation, Better Beaches to Love. At our next meeting, I'm going to try to, as the mayor recommended several weeks ago, to kind of maybe start acknowledging some of these volunteers that have done so much for the beach grass plantings and the Keep Pounding Day, and then now this down at Moore Shore Road. We're asking an awful lot of our volunteers, but they're saving us quite a bit of money. So if you get a chance, you can go down and check that out. Hopefully in the next year or two, the grass will spread, should spread out to the walls, they say, and provide some extra buffer for the shoreline in behind those walls. So I think that project's going to turn out really nice. Also, I've copied you 2 pictures of the fit stations. We've installed 3 fit stations at Sandy Run Park. I don't know what you call them. One's a stretching station. One is a hopper station. I guess that was Willie's name for it. And then one is a balance beam. We may install some more. This was all done in-house by a carpenter we have in-house, and if you'll see, they turned out really nice, from Mike Davidson there at Public Works. So if you see him, you can thank him for doing a job well done on that. But they're out around the Sandy Run Park area. Tom Hefner, who also sits on the rec board, volunteers his time, was part of that decision and kind of was sort of his idea and the rec committee's idea, so we appreciate them for that. And then we'll be closed July 4th for the 4th of July. And Willie has informed me that I guess he's gotten his building, finally gotten his rust bucket down at Public Works repainted, so
Yes.
hopefully that'll last another 20 or 30 years, so.
The Moore Shore, there were 3 times they were going to do the plantings.
Tomorrow, there'll be another planting, one more planting
One more
tomorrow.
planting.
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't finish the planting the first 2 days?
No, they didn't.
All
but
right,
they
I was there the first day, I didn't get it the second.
Yeah, they expect to complete that tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that was interesting, putting that stuff in the water like that. And Lord help you if you got it on an SAV, because they don't like that, so. All right, town attorney, you have anything?
Nothing from me, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Town council,
Nothing?
Tina?
I don't have anything.
Have a happy 4th of July and be safe on the roads.
All right,
Thanks to the staff and our town attorney that did a lot of work along with Mayor Perry on the condemnation project. Great job.
all right. I don't have anything to add except thanks to all, and I hope the public understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. All right, public comment. Anyone? Hearing none? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
How's the puppy?